Everybody. It's your girl PJamma from PJamma Life. And here we are today. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. And we're going to talk about Wonder Woman and we're going to have a year-end wrap-up. So with me today is my two buddies. Why don't you introduce yourself, Patrick? Say hey to the people.
Hey, everybody. Hope you all had a good Christmas.
David?
Hello, everybody. This is David Downey wishing all of you a Merry Christmas as well.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year coming up. And so today we have an exciting movie. Wonder Woman 1984 is finally here after a year and a half. They're talking about it. It dropped on HBO Max and in the theater. So watch it on HBO Max. Trust me.
Yeah.
So why don't we show a quick highlight of the movie and then we'll get into our discussion.
This world is not yet ready for all that you will do. The time will come, Diana. And everything will be different.
Citizens of the world, I'm here to teach you anything you want. Anything you dream of, you can have it. You look like you saw a ghost. Diana, look at you. It's like not one day has passed.
I don't want to be like anyone. I want to be a pet predator. You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing. Well, now it's my turn. Get used to it.
I've never been one for rules. The answer is more. The way I fly, they will never find out.
I forgot to tell you.
What?
Radar.
Will they shoot at us?
Barbara, what did you do?
All right. Wonder Woman 1984. Then takes place in Washington, D.C. But this sure is a prettier version of Washington, D.C. in 1984. I tell you that much. And so that was checked wrong. But I think that if I had to review, well, I am reviewing this, but I think the first Wonder Woman movie set such a high bar. And so, I'm sure expectations were super high. And I thought it was a good movie, but I didn't think it was great. Like the first one was that year's probably one of my favorite movies of that year. This one had problems with story to me, first off. It was confusing, the villains deal. It wasn't very clear cut. And I kept trying to figure out what he actually wanted. And it wasn't really clear. And it wasn't clear how he got his power. Usually it's pretty clear. But how he used his power, it was very, very confusing to me. The story is that Diana is now 1984, you know, almost 80 years or so, I guess, after World War One, maybe 67, something. And a long time has passed. Of course, she still is gorgeous and looks exactly the same. And she is working at the Smithsonian, and she meets Barbara Minerva, which those of us who are into mythology know that name. And Barbara is young, nerdy, kind of lacks self-confidence and self-assurity, and holds, I guess, several doctorates, which I was like, then why are you so nerdy? I mean, you're a brilliant scientist. Why are you acting like this? Anywho, and so, and the villain is this. What's his name? See, this is what's the problem. He's not very memorable as a villain.
He was
The Mandalorian.
Yes, Maxwell Lord, who is running this. I think it's kind of he's running this oil company and wants to get oil. They find an artifact that gives power. I don't want to say how it does it, but it's a powerful artifact, and he then has the ability to get whatever he wants from it, and also anybody else who touches the artifact. So it is, I mean, I can say more, but it's kind of convoluted and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so but you get Steve Trevor comes back, and I was like, the way he came back is really dumb. And I was like, well, why did they just do it like everybody else does it? I mean, so that didn't make sense. And then the dramatic part of it, I think they were having two villains in it, a female and a male, but they really could have just done one and wrote it better. And so it got really kind of confusing. But I will have to say that, and it does touch on issues around, kind of current issues around what is truth and the why truth is so important. And so I thought that was a good message. Of course, it's very wholesome. But what redeemed the movie from me, from being a C to being an A- B+ was in the final credits. If you watch till the final credits, you'll understand what I mean, and you will have a uplifting experience. So that is my kind of take on Wonder Woman 84. I don't want to completely spoil it for people since it just came out, but if nothing else, it's kind of fun, so you won't feel like you wasted time. Although I have to say, it is a little long. I was like, get to it.
Yeah,
it was probably half hour, 45 minutes too long. It could have trimmed a lot.
Oh yeah.
What you think, Patrick? You're itching. I can tell you.
Dude, I without giving away the worst thing was the major plot hole. There was the whole plot, the whole idea of Aladdin's lamp, basically. And I thought that was just horrible the way that it was convoluted. It was ridiculous. You couldn't tell what his power was, or anything like that. Really, I mean, how did it work? It was very confusing, very complex. I thought a lot of the performances were pretty flat, and also the just random little bits of magic they wanted to throw in just because. Oh well, we got to give it an invisible jet. Let's see how the jet gets invisible. Yeah.
Well, that was cool. Come on, they finally figured out how to do the invisible jet.
Oh, yeah. I've been kind of holding on to this magic, and I'm just gonna try it out right now before we get shot out of space. And then the whole flying bull, I was just like, it was like they were trying to do two much. So too much. Stick to one villain.
Yeah.
Not two, not a villain and a sub villain, or I don't know who was supposed to be the villain. It was very clunky in the way it jumped around. Pedro Pascal was underutilized terribly.
Underutilized.
Well, no, I mean he was on screen a hell of a lot, but wasn't doing much. They didn't give him much to work with. It was a terrible plot, like you said. I mean, I thought the plot didn't go anywhere. It plotted. I mean, like you said, at least 45 minutes of that movie could have been left on the cutting room floor, and it would have been more streamlined, nicer. Yeah. I don't know if they were trying to do too much fan service because I'm not a big DC person. I'm much more Marvel. Yeah. So I don't know all the ins and outs of the DC universe and what they were trying to really throw some things in there, because I don't remember Wonder Woman flying, and here she is at the end of the movie. She's flying like she's Superman now, and I'm like,
I do remember her flying. I remember her flying.
Oh, maybe she doesn't. I don't know. I don't ever remember that from any of the stuff that I actually read when I used to read DC when I was like 12.
Right.
But overall, just if I had to give it a rating on a 1 to 10, I'd put it a 5, maybe.
Ooh.
Maybe 4.5, 5. I love superhero movies. I do. I got a whole shelf full of DVDs of superhero movies. And you know what? And it's not just that I don't like DC, because I love the Christopher Nolan trilogy, Batman. I love those. Those were fun movies. They did a great job. Good story, good actors, well done. This was just it was all over the place. It was just unfocused. That's my take on it. So 5-ish.
Woof. Okay. David, my friend.
Well, it's interesting. I actually think that I liked it better than either one of you in some respects. I don't think that the bar is set very high for the DC superhero movies. I think that there's something, whether it's the fact that the characters are just kind of bland in general compared to Marvel, because that's what you're doing with these. You compare. I think Wonder Woman, though, I think Gal Gadot does a great job. And I think that these two Wonder Woman movies are really the best of anything we've seen about the DC films. I do kind of wonder, I think it's a recent thing that Wonder Woman can fly on her own. I'm not the comic book aficionado. That's why she had an invisible jet. She had a stealth jet because she couldn't fly. I mean, that's where that piece of history kind of came from. I thought it was kind of fun. I accepted the whole magic lamp, the magic quartz. I love seeing DC in the 1980s. I do wish we could have gone by the part of the Smithsonian that was really in construction and then was canceled there in the late 80s. It's a very important piece. It was Marion Barry's This Old Crack House. And they didn't show that part. I had to throw that in there. He was the mayor. I thought it was fun, though, to see the 80s. I thought the Chris Pine fashion montage was kind of fun.
That was funny.
That was cute.
Yeah.
Did have to wonder, because I saw the trailer. We've been seeing these trailers for so long, because of COVID and everything pushed back. What are they going to do with Steve Trevor? How is he coming back? As questionable as the whole magic quartz or whatever it is, that made at least a logical way that he could kind of come back into the scene for a moment. I thought it was really powerful how he reincarnated. It sounded like he was in some heaven-like place. He did allude to that when they were talking. Then he says, you got to give him up and you got to keep living. I thought that was a kind of a good message. The villain issues. I do think we really only needed one villain. Pick a villain. And Kristen Wiig, hey, she's a funny person who did really well in a dramatic role. When she was kicking that guy down the street, and I think, because there was a lot of sexual harassment stuff going on throughout that movie. And I mean, that guy, literally the embodiment of it. That was a very powerful thing. And I thought she was really good. Some of the political side of things, I was I winced a little bit of that. But with the interpretation of Ronald Reagan, there. I was a little.
Was it even supposed to be Ronald Reagan?
It had to be.
I
The
didn't think
hair
so.
in 1984. I mean,
Well, it
it
would have
had
been.
to
It
be.
would have been Reagan. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been, but I didn't get the sense that it really was him. I just thought they plopped somebody else in there
President.
because they never said his name. Thank God. But and I just thought, I was glad it was not Reagan. I was like, because that was terrible. I mean, if you gotta do Reagan, do Reagan. I mean,
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, and honestly, and I think he would have. I could have seen him saying the destruction of the Soviet Empire. I don't think he would have just said more nukes. I think he would have just cut to the chase and said, "Get rid of that whole country."
yeah,
I could have seen that more so.
Yeah.
But I did think it was a fun movie. It was entertaining. I thought it was well. I think the director does a really nice job overall, and I'm certainly with what she did the first one. I thought this one was good. I am looking forward to seeing what she does with the 2023 Rogue Squadron, bringing it back to a Star Wars thought, which I probably will do throughout the night.
Yeah, and her father, I guess, was a fighter pilot, and
That's my understanding.
She has a source to draw from about fighter squadrons and battle scenes in the air and stuff like that. So very exciting. But I thought with the movie, I'm glad you brought up Kristen Wiig, because she really did a great job. And I really felt like she could have been the villain. Yeah. They could have just had her with the crystal, and then she morphs and changes and, does, all the traditional villainy stuff. And that would have worked perfectly to me. And so it was kind of disappointing. I was like, well, why do you need this guy in here? Yeah. Because it just made it that much more complicated that it didn't need to be. And I was kind of mad that they, resorted to, we need a male villain because we don't think a female could come out. But here's the other thing that I thought was dumb. Okay, I love cheetahs. Cheetahs are like one of my favorite cats because they're just so cute. And I'm like, but a cheetah is not an apex predator. It's not. It has to run from other predators. So I'm like, that's a dumb name. That's a dumb thing to want to be as a cheetah. I mean, why isn't she like lioness or the tigra, the tigress, or something like that? I mean, those are apex predators. So I was like, it's still kind of cute and fuzzy. And I mean, if you ever watch any nature shows about cheetahs,
couldn't have been Latigra in the 80s because that had a whole different feel. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I was just like, cheetah.
Well, that goes back to the original villain. I mean, that was kind of the arch enemy. So you had to bring that character in.
I know. Just I've always had a problem with it. When I was a kid, I read Wonder Woman comics until I was blue in the face and my eyes were cracked red from staying up all night reading them. But I just that was always a problem. It was like, cheetah. No. But I think I think you should watch it. And then you should think about it for yourself. I wouldn't say not to watch it because I think that overall it's entertaining. And so with entertaining, you can get a long way. So check out Wonder Woman 84. I mean, there are worse movies that came out this year and we'll talk about them. And so why don't we do that now? Let's look at our end of the year wrap up. I asked the guys to think about what were the best movies, TV show of the year, and also which ones were the most disappointing and the worst. So from January to December, we'll leave it in there so you all can know what to avoid And what if you haven't had a look at some of these best ofs, you can have a chance to check them out. So why don't we start with David?
Okay. Well, I would say from my perspective, the best movie that I've seen this year has been one that was recently just has come out straight to on demand, which is Freaky. The
Freaky.
comedy.
Oh.
I actually think this is a fantastic movie. Vince Vaughn playing a serial killer, having that Freaky Friday moment where with that special dagger switches with a victim, which in this case is a young teenage girl, kind of bullied, like all Hollywood girls that are the heroine who are kind of like downcast. She's absolutely beautiful and really sweet, but Hollywood says that, oh well, she's not that attractive. Yeah, right.
Right.
But this was fun, and I think it was really good. Vince Vaughn actually didn't just kind of be Vince Vaughn. He actually did a great job, I think, and maybe an even underappreciated job as a serial killer, and then playing this young girl. He didn't ad lib. He didn't talk about there's phenomenal. He didn't go on one of his great riffs. That he just did a great job with this. This was a fun movie. I know we've had this month we've been talking about films that represent different demographics in ways that are less than stereotypical and try to promote, diversity. This movie does, I think, a really nice job of that, with having a diverse cast and not having just a pigeonhole people into those kind of, he is like, here's my gay friend and here's my African-American friend. They're in there, but their characters are real and whole and genuinely, good people. And they're not any kind of expense or stereotype. I highly recommend this movie to anyone. If you like slashers, great. If you like Freaky Friday comedies, great. This is a fun one to watch. Grab some popcorn and enjoy.
Okay. What's your favorite TV show of the year?
Favorite TV show? Well, I guess, I would say probably there could be a type. First and foremost, The Mandalorian, I think, was just fantastic. Yeah. We've talked a lot about that at length. That's been great. And I would also say because it was on TV, Netflix, and ABC, the documentary chronicling the last season of the Chicago Bulls. So they're in the middle of the summer. This was a beautifully done piece that really talked about that whole era of the Bulls from the time that Jordan was drafted through his last game. And I think this was just a really well done sports documentary. Social commentary in there, economics. It's really good. That's something that I would encourage people to watch, even if you're not a big sports fan. I think it's the drama of this and the personalities. It was a really well done documentary.
I agree. I think that would be my best documentary of the year. All right. How about you, Patrick?
Well, I didn't really pick a movie per se.
No, just pick your best of.
I tell you what was so uplifting all summer, because everybody was locked down. I remember every Friday night and Saturday night, me and the wife would go out on the back porch. I set up a big projector and we would watch Schitt's Creek because it was spectacular. It was so good because it was hilarious. It was just ridiculously hilarious. It had all these wonderful, fully fleshed characters, and it showed you a world where maybe, people don't look at people that are gay as any different than people that are straight. It was really cool for that instance because it was just like, well, that's just, he wears, it's like the line, he had a line where he talked about he was bisexual, but he was mostly gay. It seems like, he leaned more towards men, but he had like slept with this girl and the next day they're buying wine. And he's like, yeah, I'm getting somebody. And she's like, well, I thought you liked Merlots. And he goes, well, I like a Merlot, but I also like Chablis and I like these other things. I like the wine. I don't like the label. And I was like, it's a really neat little bit. I love Schitt's Creek a lot for like an actual, not just a limited mini series. I really love Queen's Gambit. It was so well done. It made me interested in chess again. It was really interesting to see this, girl overcoming all these things and getting into the grandmasters and, just playing her heart out. And it was a good story too, about how she had to kind of manipulate the system to get to where she had to be. That was spectacular. A single episode thing. Hamilton. I'd never seen it.
Hamilton.
Dude, I listen to that all the time now. My class hates it because I play it all the time. Like, too bad. You're going to listen to it because that's the rules. I picked the music. You guys shut your cake holes. We're listening to Hamilton today. So, I mean, Hamilton was spectacular. It was, I mean, and it was so wonderful to watch that without having to pay $120 to go to Broadway to do it. So I was like, well,
good luck.
Cheap seats. Yeah, but still, it was amazing. I love that. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff. Things I hated this year, though. Oh my God! Can someone please rein in reality TV finally? Please rein in reality TV.
No.
I was a monster Survivor fan at the beginning. I quit watching it. All these damn shows where we have the Masked Singer and the Masked Dancer. I'm like, ugh, B-list celebrities, just sit home and take your residuals, please.
Oh,
please.
Well, there've been some big singers on there.
Yeah, well, okay. They may have been one time, but they B-list now.
Oh, you can never call La Belle B-list. She is a legend. She will remain a legend. What I was disappointed. I was like, why are you on this show? You don't even
B-list.
be on this show. So she should have been a judge. Her and what's her name? Gladys Knight, I think, was on there. And I'm like, what the what? No.
B-list now. I'm sorry. You know, not everybody doesn't always sit in the sun. There's not many people that get to go out on the top. It's fine, you know, everybody slides down a little bit, you know, unless you die with an overdose of propofol like Michael Jackson did, or whatever he died of, you know. I mean, there are a few people that get out, but it's really rare when they get out to go on top. Otherwise, it's on the sad decline side.
No, I disagree about Patty being a sad decline. I don't know about some of the other jokers, but never LaBelle. Never. I just think she could have made a better choice. But
sure. Sit home, take your residuals. I said that. That's the best choice.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Produce.
Money talks. Yeah.
Develop new talent. Something. Don't go out and embarrass yourself anymore. Come on.
Well, on that, I have to disagree, because to me, the best reality show, and one of the best reality shows, it was a tie for me, was Tiger King.
Oh, that was good, yes.
And Love is Blind. Both of those were amazing. I mean, the beginning of the year, Tiger King, come on now. He took over the game. And Carol Baskin and Joey Exotic, and his life was exotic. Even if he never had tiger stuff going on, the man's life was something that a whole series could have been based on, rather than just a documentary. I mean, look at what they got out of the footage in the documentary, as opposed to, I mean, the dude's life is so amazing. I think there are 5 or 6 TV shows in development about his life. I mean, just incredible. And Love is Blind had to be the craziest, sweetest, adorable dating show that there was. And the premise was 2 people meet, they're completely blocked from seeing each other unless and until they propose. And then once they propose, then they meet each other in person. So you had villains, you had true love interests, you had people who ended up not actually marrying at the end, and then you had the sweetest couple of all getting married. So I thought Love is Blind, just right. So I have a whole different types of list for this year, since what else could you do but watch TV and watch movies and hang out at home? So the best horror movie this year to me was Invisible Man. I think they took an old story And Bloomhouse, I mean, they did the most incredible things with Get Out, and I love Fantasy Island too. But Invisible Man was just great. I
That
just
was
thought,
good.
yeah,
was.
I just thought they took the old tired Invisible Man, which you could have maybe, and then they flipped it, and I just thought fantastic. I was scared. I was enthralled. What's her name? The actress
Elizabeth
Moss. She was
amazing.
fantastic. The villain was fantastic. I just thought it was great. I just thought that one. The best action movie I thought was Old Guard. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yep.
And I think that with everything going on, Old Guard was just a delight. I didn't know what to expect from it, but anything Charlize Theron is in is always fantastic.
Yeah.
So she brought it home on that one. I thought that was fantastic. The best drama to me was on Apple Plus. I believe it was Apple, The Banker. So if you haven't had a chance to check out The Banker, that was a fantastic story of a black man and an older black man establishing one of the first black owned banks, and what they did to make home loans to minorities in, I believe it was Chicago. It's been a while since I watched it, but it was incredible. Great acting, Samuel L. Jackson, Anthony Mackie. It was phenomenal. Definitely, if you haven't had a chance to check out The Banker, check out The Banker. And the best TV this year is a tie. Everybody probably knows what my two favorites are because I reviewed them every episode and went deep down dives in them. Was Lovecraft Country and The Mandalorian. And you can check out all my reviews of Lovecraft Country, the novel, and Lovecraft Country, the TV show. So it was just a great year, I thought, for science fiction. It was a great year for being able to see representation in science fiction and fantasy genres. And you really got fully fleshed out stories and characters and something really different and new, which you haven't seen before. And so those two, I think, were some of the most creative. And for Lovecraft Country, that to me brought in so many different elements, including history lessons for people who didn't know a lot of African American history. And The Mandalorian, to give us that love of Star Wars again, and to be able to look at a new universe of characters and stories that without Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni may not have been able to come to fruition again. So that to me was the best of that. And animation, there were two. The best anime was Mortal Kombat. There was a new in the Scorpion's Tail, I think, or something. And it was really interesting. It's not normally my genre, and it's very violent. Don't let your little kids watch it.
Mortal Kombat's violent?
I know, but I wasn't expecting, and I'm not young, but I was not expecting the level of violence in it. And I was
it was a video game where they ripped your spine out. Yeah.
Heads coming off, people explode. It was gross. But the story was really excellent. So I was very, very pleased with that. And the other one, traditional, was Onward. I really enjoyed Onward. I love the message. The animation was beautiful. I thought the story was great. It was just just one of my favorite ones of the year. Now, I haven't watched Soul, and I haven't watched
Need to watch that.
what's the other one? There was another one. I haven't watched those, so I can't speak on that yet. But
Did you see Coco yet?
I haven't seen Coco.
Girl, you need to watch that. It is the best.
I know.
It's in my top 3 movies, okay, of all time. It's so good.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
So good.
I'll have to watch it if you say it's in your top 3 of all time.
Little preview for sometime soon.
It's that good.
And my worst. Okay, let me see. Before I get to my worst, I'll talk about my biggest disappointment movie this year was Tenet. Oh, I don't know what happened to my Christopher Nolan. I've watched everything he's done and usually have just fell in love with every bit of it. This one was not good at all. And maybe I have to watch it again, but it's also dealing with time travel, time manipulation, and I don't like that. So this one, biggest disappointment. I was looking forward to everything about it. Christopher Nolan, John David Washington. The story the action looked crazy, like good. And then you watched it and you were like, what the hell did I just watch? I literally was like, WTF? Although I didn't say F. And so I was like, no, you can skip it. Unfortunately, that needed more time for some retooling and editing and an explanation scene so that you really understood what the heck was going on. And my worst movies of the year were 2 on streaming. The first was Legendary on HBO Max, which was a straight up travesty of what it is a show where they have tried to bring the ballroom scene of gay New York culture as what's called a ballroom dancing, where teams of different houses where gay people have traditionally, those were places where people who were outcasts could go and join a house where they would live. And then they could enter into these competitions, dance competitions, competing each house together, and you would win different prizes. Think of Pose, okay? That's what Pose is. It's about the ballroom scene, okay? If you've seen Pose on Netflix or FX, this show was the worst commercialization of ballroom. It was just cultural appropriation. It was just some bullshit. And I'll just say bullshit. Don't watch it. It's disgusting mess. Okay. That was just enough. My cheeks are getting hot. I just couldn't stand it. It was just terrible. And then my other movie that I despised, disliked, reviled was a series on Amazon Prime called Utopia. And it's this nasty, vicious, hateful story. It's about nihilism and eugenics and murder, kids getting murdered, and it's just a nightmare. It had what made me mad was it had some really good acting in it, but the words that they were coming out of their mouth were so vile and disgusting that I was mad that some of my favorite actors like John Cusack was in it. And I just love him, but I just hated him in this, and I hated that he even took it, and I just despised every second of it. So I don't want anybody to watch it because it's horrible. It's horrible, terrible. It's not what anybody should be watching. It's dark and just dank. It stinks. Don't watch it. But I don't have that many feelings about it.
So hold back.
I just hope that this program that you're doing, it's such an exciting thing, Pam, that you'll just kind of step out and not be the wallflower that you've been for too long. Just be yourself in these moments.
And I should kind of, not like hold back my opinions on it.
That's right.
This one I couldn't. I hated it. It was just awful. So you can watch it. Don't even watch it. Trust me on this one. I won't steer you wrong. Just don't give them residual money. Just make it be a flop. But just want to say a shout out to Tim Windsor. Hey, Tim Windsor. He's our through crew. He's usually here for our show. We appreciate it. And we appreciate all of you. And so, do you guys have anything else you want to add to the year-end wrap up? Any advice, words of wisdom, things for the people to think about?
Stay home, wash your hands, wear a mask. That's my advice to everybody. I tell my students that. I tell everybody who's watching this, it's real, and hunker down for a little bit longer. Helps on the way.
Yep.
Well, I'd echo what Patrick says, but I would say this: come up with a New Year's resolution and try and actually do it. Here we are at the end of the year. It's been a year with a lot of soul searching, a lot of scary moments. We're not out of the woods yet, but let's look at 2021 as a new beginning and see what can we do better. What would we like to do that we haven't done? Let's use this time where we are trying to be safe and be thinking of others to think about what we can do, what would be great for us in 2021. Hopefully it's something somewhat altruistic, but if you got a dream that you want to live, today's the day. Let's start planning for it.
That's right. And David's exactly right. I took his advice this year, and out of that, PJamma Life was born. That was a New Year's resolution for me. And I was, with the help of a friend, I was able to make it happen and then launch my own show. And so dreams do come true.
There you go.
But they take hard work, and this show takes subscribers. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and subscribe to our show. And if there was anything, there were some great quotes from all the movies that I watched this year. And one of them that I can remember is love, friendship, I think and trust are what we can give and what we can give to one another. So that's something that you can share with your friends, your family, and just out there in the world, but by social distancing, wearing your mask and washing your hands. And just use 2020 as an example of what not to do. Less hate, less selfishness, and less and less ill will in 2021. Let's share more, let's care about one another more, and let's help each other where we can. And I think we'll all be better for it.
Amen.
So Happy New Year. We'll see you all in 2021. Our friends, PJamma and Friends, will be back in 2021. We'll be back next Saturday. It'll be January 2nd, 2021. I know, it's crazy, right? And so thank you all for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Be blessed and take care.